I'd like to call the Town of Clinton Planning Board meeting of May 4th, 2021 to order at 7:47. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and pursuant to Executive Order number 202.1 issued on March 12, 2020, suspending the open meetings law and emergency state and federal bans on large meetings or gatherings. The Town of Clinton Planning Board scheduled for May 4th, 2021 will be held electronically via Zoom instead of a public meeting open for the public to attend in person. Members of the public may view the board meeting as it is live streamed on YouTube, www.townofclinton.com/government/planning-board-videos/ Okay, the first item on the agenda is Burns and Vega Airbnb at 4468 Lake Drive. Do we have anybody here for that?
Yes, we're here.
Okay, good. Hello.
Hello.
Okay. Paul, do you want to make a motion to open the public hearing?
Yeah, I move to open the public hearing in the Burns Vega application.
Okay, we need a second.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Art, aye. Okay. Opposed? So moved. Okay. If there's anybody here in the waiting room, or is
Everyone's in the building.
everybody's in, if there's anybody here who is concerned about this particular item on the agenda, the applicants will briefly explain what they're doing, and then you will have a chance to comment. If you so wish, you need to state your name and your address. Okay? Folks, why don't you briefly explain what you're doing and
Sure.
go from there.
Sure. We got the house on 468 Lake Drive. We use it for our family. It's us and our two kids. We go there usually on the weekends. We work here in Brooklyn, New York, most of the week. And we enjoy it. And the house needed a little bit of, well, I hate to call it renovating, but it just needed upgrading a lot. And so we've been doing that since we closed towards the end of last year. And we thought about trying to get a permit to Airbnb it about half the time, or 1 or 2 weeks a month, in order for us to keep getting funds to do the upgrades that we want to do that are a little bit bigger, like the roof that will soon need to be upgraded. And is there anything else that you want to add?
No, it's a small house, and we've set sort of boundaries and submitted them to the town about how many people can stay there at night. We don't intend to crowd it. It's not a party house. We want it to be rented to people who appreciate being in nature and appreciate sort of the quietness of the community.
Okay,
Well said.
thank you. Is there anybody here who would wish to comment on that? Okay. Last chance. Okay, Paul?
Yeah, I move to close the public hearing in this matter.
Second.
All in discussion? All in favor? Art, aye.
Yeah.
All aye.
And I.
Okay, so moved. Okay. The applicants are on after, we have one application right before these applicants can come back. Paul, is is there anything here that would delay this, or do you have a resolution ready?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that would delay it. I emailed to everybody shortly a few minutes ago the final resolutions for the approval and for seeker. I have a comment about seeker, but are we going to do this now, Art? Are you want to do you want to just
I think it probably would be easier to do it right now. It shouldn't take all that long.
okay. I don't really have any other issues or anything to discuss. I don't know if anybody else on the board does, or any questions or anything like that. Seems like everything's in order at this point.
Okay, why don't you go forward with the resolution?
Okay, so
Secret?
yeah, so let me just we got started late, and we I don't want to go crazy here. I think what we should do, I think we can do seeker for this matter, and I can, if you'd like, Art, I can read the negative. I mean, I can go through the form and then read the resolution. But my comment would be, I think we should get an opinion from town council about whether we even need to do seeker for these, because I think they may fit within the type 2 guidelines, and if we're going to have a bunch of these, it would speed things up if we didn't have to do seeker. I don't, in a case where there's no change at all to the premises, I'm not sure what seeker accomplishes, so that would just be a recommendation generally.
Okay, yeah, we'll, when we finished all the applications, we'll draft up something and send it to our council, okay? How's that?
Okay, so
Excuse me, do you want to read the comment from the Dutchess County Planning, from
it just said
Shelby?
it's a matter, well, I put it in the final resolution, it's a matter of local concern.
Okay,
That's what Dutchess County Planning said. So I'll go through the items on part 2 of the form, if that's okay.
sure.
Very quickly. So number 1, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? I'm going to go with no. But Arlene, are you actually marking this somewhere as we do this?
What, part 2? Yes.
Yeah, you're doing the form? Okay. 2, will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? It's no or small impact. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No or small impact. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a CEA? It's no. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy or fail to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact A, public or private water supplies? Either no or small impact, or public or private wastewater treatment utilities? No or small impact. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? There's no change, so no. Will the proposed action result in adverse change to natural resources? Wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, fauna? No, so again, there's no change. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. And will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? And I think the answer there is also no. So unless there's a disagreement on any of those items, I can read quickly my resolution for issuing a negative declaration of significance.
Yes,
And whereas the town of Clinton Planning Board has received an application for a special use permit from Taryn Burns and Carlo Vega for the purpose of utilizing a principal residence located at 468 Lake Drive in the town of Clinton as a non-hosted short-term rental pursuant to section 250-69-1 of the zoning law. And whereas the applicants do not propose any alteration, excavation, or construction on the site in connection with the requested permit. And whereas the applicants have submitted an inspection report dated within 90 days of the date of the application, stating that the existing sewage disposal system serving the principal dwelling is adequately functioning for the intended use at the time of inspection. And whereas the subject property is identified as tax parcel number 200521 and is located in the C or conservation zoning district, and whereas a short form EAF part 1 has been received and reviewed, and whereas the planning board has reviewed all available information regarding the proposed action, including the applicant's submission, and reported the zoning administrator, and whereas the planning board has acted as lead agency in the uncoordinated review of this unlisted action, and whereas the planning board has reviewed the environmental impacts that may be associated with this action, little minor glitch there. Okay, now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Clinton Planning Board has determined that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts and that a draft environmental impact statement will not be required. And be it further resolved that the Town of Clinton Planning Board cites the following reasons in support of this determination of non-significance. 1, the applicants do not propose any alteration, excavation, or construction on the site in connection with the requested permit. Accordingly, the proposed action will entail little or no adverse environmental impacts. And 2, occupancy of the proposed short-term rental will be limited to the maximum occupancy capacity of the principal residence as determined by the planning board based on its review of the septic system capacity, certificate of occupancy, and other pertinent information.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Art, aye.
Jack, aye.
Justin, aye.
All aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? So moved. Okay,
And then if there's no further discussion, I can read the final resolution, which I emailed several versions of this. This is tweaked a little bit more from the last version. Do you want me to read it, Art, or?
no, go ahead, Paul.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas the Town of Clinton Planning Board has received an application for a special use permit from Taryn Burns and Carla Vega for the purpose of utilizing a principal residence, the dwelling unit located at 468 Lake Drive in the town of Clinton as a non-hosted short-term rental pursuant to section 250-69.1 of the zoning law, whereas the subject property is identified as tax parcel number 200-521 and is located in the C zoning district, and whereas the applicants do not propose any alteration, excavation, or construction on the site in connection with the requested permit, and whereas the applicants have submitted an inspection report dated within 90 days of the date of the application stating that the existing sewage disposal system serving the dwelling unit is adequately functioning for its intended use at the time of inspection, and whereas a short form EAF part 1 has been received, and whereas the planning board acting as lead agency has determined that the proposed project is an unlisted action and has undertaken an uncoordinated review of the action, and whereas at its May 4, 2021 meeting, the planning board reviewed the EAF and related submissions by the applicants and issued a negative declaration of significance pursuant to seeker, and whereas the planning board conducted a public hearing during its regular meeting on May 4, 2021. And whereas the zoning administrator has inspected the dwelling unit and certified that it is in compliance with the permitting requirements set forth in section 250-69.1 for use of the dwelling unit as a non-hosted short-term rental, and that there are no known zoning violations on the property. And whereas the planning board referred the application to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development pursuant to general municipal law sections 239 L and M and has received a response indicating the application is a quote matter of local concern, end quote. And whereas the applicants have stated that the dwelling unit will be utilized as a non-hosted short-term rental for approximately 6 months per calendar year, and that the minimum rental duration shall be 3 nights. And whereas the planning board has determined that the maximum number of lodgers allowed shall be 4 persons, and the maximum number of daytime visitors permitted on the property shall be 4 persons. And whereas after review of the application and all other submissions by the applicants, the planning board has determined that the application and dwelling unit are otherwise in compliance with the requirements of section 250-69-1. And whereas this special use permit shall remain in effect for 1 year from the date of approval by the planning board, and shall require renewal by the planning board upon request by the property owners pursuant to section 250-69.1 D4, no later than the anniversary of such issuance. And whereas the applicant shall ensure that the dwelling unit complies with the requirements of section 250-69-1 at all times, while it is being utilized as a non-hosted short-term rental, and shall otherwise comply with applicable town, county, and New York State law and regulations governing such use. And whereas all applicable fees have been paid, now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby grants approval of the requested special use permit effective as of the date of this resolution and dated May 4, 2021. And it has the legends at the bottom. Maximum number of lodgers permitted is 4. Permit expires on 5/4/2022. See section 250-69-1 D4 for renewal procedure.
Okay, second,
Second.
discussion. All in favor? Art, aye.
Justin, aye. Jack, aye.
Pat, I.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
We still have to issue a permit that you're gonna put on your windows or something, you know, it would say the number of larger permit issued and all this stuff, so.
Completely understood. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for doing the right thing here. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Take care. Good luck.
You're the very first one.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Have a
All
nice
right,
night.
next item on the agenda is Gorlick special permit for an accessory dwelling on Clinton Hollow Road. Is anybody here for that?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. All right. Can you briefly explain what you're doing, and then we'll go from there?
Sounds good. And thank you for your time, first of all. So we bought the house at 423 Clinton Hollow Road in the summer of 2018. There's 2 structures on the property, the main house and also the barn with an accessory unit, which at the time when we bought the house was more or less a shell of an accessory unit, but had all of the plumbing in place. When we bought the house, we had the idea of refinishing that unit in order to, at some point later, to utilize it both for our own needs and to possibly to rent it out as short-term rentals on the Airbnb. We proceeded to do so. We finished that space. And in the process, it did not require any structural changes. All of everything that we were doing was purely cosmetic inside. And in the process of applying for short-term rental application, we found out that this actual accessory unit, the existing permit on it expired back in the 80s. So we're trying to rectify that.
Okay. Jack?
Okay, thanks for doing this. The question that sort of jumps out is the water and sewage supply. There's a strict requirement in the zoning code that says that we can't grant a special permit for an accessory unit unless the applicant can demonstrate the water supply and sewage disposal system serving the building and buildings in question meet the current county health department standards. And I didn't see anything in the application that indicated whether this meets the Dutchess County Department of Health requirements in that regard. I do see a statement from a company that there's 1,000-gallon sewage system that's in good working order, and good luck and good about that. But it doesn't tell me if that is sufficient to supply the house and the proposed accessory dwelling unit. And I was wondering how you're going to meet the requirement that you show us that it is adequate. Most people just go to the Board of Health, but there are other ways.
I would love to find out about other ways. On Arlene's suggestion, I've been trying to reach out to the Board of Health for the last 2 days. I left messages. Unfortunately, haven't heard back from them. It's a little difficult for me to go there physically because currently we're outside of the country. We're in London.
Late for you guys.
It's all right. So this is something that I'm planning to rectify as early as possible. That said, if you have suggestions on other ways of doing it, I would love to hear them.
I'm a little out of my depth. It seems some people use a professional engineer. Is that right, Arlene?
Well, if they don't have a septic design, but if they have a record in the Department of Health, so the first step is the Department of Health. They might have a record.
Yeah, but we're going to need that. And I guess the question for the group is, do we set this down for a hearing now, or wait until this is worked out with the Department of Health? Because I don't think we can approve it without Department of Health action on it. Whereas, meeting that standard is a better way of putting it. Otherwise, there was a unit there. I'm sorry, I do have another question. You gave us a drawing with the dimensions in meters, and I tried my grade school arithmetic on it, but can you tell us what the square footage of the unit is in feet?
It's about 400 square feet.
Okay, I came up with a little bit more. 400 is the absolute minimum. So if it's a little more, it wouldn't be a bad thing. But that is well, if it's over 400 feet and if it's less than 1,000, that requirement is satisfied. So it seems to me putting aside the Board of Health, given the fact the building is there, it has been used in the past, even though the permit is expired. Seems to me we could put this down for a public hearing if we think the BOH issue can get resolved before a hearing date.
I have a question here, Jack. The applicant has stated that this accessory dwelling would be used like a Airbnb or on Airbnb that would require another permit.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, all that I think we have now is the accessory dwelling unit.
Legalize it.
Yeah, and if they get that, then they can submit for the Airbnb, or I guess they could submit for the Airbnb without the accessory dwelling unit and just use.
He wants to do it at the same time. It's up to him.
Yeah, that would be the applicant's choice. But if they want this to be, they want the accessory unit to be part of the Airbnb, we have to approve an accessory dwelling unit before we can get to the short-term B&B application.
But you still need to demonstrate too. Part of the Airbnb, he still need to demonstrate the septic.
Yes.
How many bedrooms do you have in the main house?
3 bedrooms.
So he has 3 bedrooms, and you said you have 1,000 gallons. 1,000 gallons, normally 3 bedrooms.
So parcel access says there are 4 bedrooms. Does that include the accessory dwelling unit?
I'm not the main house has 3 bedrooms and a loft that does not have doors, so I'm not sure if
That's
that's
not included.
considered.
Okay,
Yeah,
Or
it does
or
not
was the
include
accessory unit. I don't know.
It does not include, it's not even listed in the parcel access. The accessory dwelling was an exception from the 80s,
yeah,
right? And when the variance was granted in the 80s, it was very explicitly stated that the dwelling was permitted for a short time period for family reasons and was going to be dismantled.
which it
And
obviously.
when the property was sold in 2018, it was not advertised as having accessory dwelling. It was advertised as a workshop. So it was really not intended to be an accessory dwelling. How big is the lot? How big is the lot? It's not
It's 6.5 acres
6.5
It-
acres.
in an AR3 zone, so they have the required twice the acreage for,
So it's three for,
three for, 3 acres is the zoning. You need double that if you're gonna have an accessory dwelling unit. So they have they have 6.5 acres. So they meet that requirement.
so why was there a variance in the 80s?
It was, as I recall, the notes of the CBA, which I don't have here, there was an aged mother who was going to live
Mhm.
there. And the then owner swore, as you said, a mighty oath that he would dismantle it. He'd sow
Right.
salt in the ground so nothing would ever grow again.
Is there a variance requirement now or just what?
Well, I would treat this as a new application.
Mhm.
What happened in the past happened, it expired, it's done. So the question is whether this meets the current requirements for an accessory dwelling unit.
Mhm.
And it may well. I mean, I think we have to hold a public hearing and hear what the neighbors think, and then, we can vote on whether it meets the standards or not. But it's of an adequate size for the regs. It's on the adequate acreage, close, but it's there. It's over the 6 acres. And it's in a separate building that is already existing, so they're not building anything that would be new from the outside. But I don't think we can even reach those questions until we get past the Board of Health and hold a public hearing to see if there's any, neighborhood issues. And I don't know that there are.
Septic.
And is anyone living in that structure now?
No.
I
It
thought
is
in your letter you said you had your neighbors living there because they were renovating their house.
Right. I mean, that's right now, but nobody's there permanently, obviously. But they're
There were
there, I think, until the end of June.
There were people there this weekend, a young couple, when I went to visit, who.
They were in the main house.
Yeah. I thought that was Kat's
The
question.
main house is 8 people capacity and the accessory is 4, so that's 12 people for 1,000-gallon septic.
They cover the number of
double what-
bedrooms, but not number of people.
Right.
Goes by bedrooms. So there's 3 bedrooms in the main house, right?
Yeah.
And will
One
this
in the cottage.
One bedroom.
one in the cottage, whether the 1,000 gallons is adequate for 4 bedrooms.
No, 4 bedrooms is 1,250.
Okay. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about this, but I think the whole thing, as Jack was saying, kind of hinges on Board of Health checking this out, because if the house is used as an Airbnb or just a rental, the accessory dwelling, you're going to have a lot of action. I think that's a question that has to be answered before we go ahead with anything, but that's just my opinion on it.
The alternative, I think, Art, would be if they drop the application for the accessory dwelling unit and submit an application just for the main house as a short-term rental, and we could then deal with that application. Board of Health action would still be required even for the main house.
Right.
it, you know, it may, if we need, if they need 1,250 gallon sewage and water for 4 bedrooms, they may not want to go to that expense and just apply for the main house with 3. That's got to be their call, and then they have to deal with the Board of Health on it.
But the cottage is still in violation right now. He cannot use, he got to remove the kitchen over there because right now it's not it's not a legal accessory dwelling.
That's true. Well,
Okay. Well, as it stands now, and I'd like some comments from the rest of the board that,
One thing I would like to also, before we go to the art, these are 2 separate listings on Airbnb. Do we think they need 2 separate permits? These are completely independent of each other in terms of Airbnb renting.
I didn't know
Separate
that.
rates, separate listings.
oh, interesting.
And that's a question, I mean, a question for, you know,
It's a good question. The way that the law is written it governs an short-term rental on a given lot. So it doesn't distinguish between buildings on a single lot. It's a fair question, and I can go back and look at it, but it doesn't. It's really geared towards looking at what is the maximum capacity of a given lot. It doesn't. It doesn't specify what which buildings can be rented and which can't. So I think this could be done with 1 permit, but I think Jack alluded to this. I mean, if the septic capacity is only for 3 bedrooms, that would dictate that the Airbnb would be a maximum of 3 bedrooms or 6 people, basically. So it may not be worth it to the applicants to convert this building if they have to dig up and, if they have to build a new septic system just to get 1 extra bedroom. Because the Airbnb law is very specific that the capacity is linked to the septic, the septic size.
Or they could update their septic.
They can, but that's a decision they have to make.
Paul, could you say that if they wanted to, that they could rent the main house as a 2-bedroom rental and an accessory as 1, so they don't go above the?
Yeah, that's it. I guess. I mean, it's. I guess the permit. Yeah, I mean, the permit could be done that way. Sure.
I'm just thinking generally, if we look at it by like lot, right? If you tie in the septic to the lot and just do 1 permit and say you have 3 bedrooms on your lot, it's up to you if you want to do that in 1 house that can fit them or otherwise.
Yeah, it's a really good point. So you could say the maximum number of lodgers on this lot is 6 people.
Yeah.
And we don't care, we don't care if they're in the little building or, yeah, that's a really good point. I assume the septic serves both buildings. I mean, there's no detail
Yes.
on here about that, but.
Well, the application says that there's the septic for the accessory is hooked into the main building.
Okay, sorry.
Well, we still can't use the cottage because the cottage is in violation right now. It needs to meet the special permit accessory dwelling.
mhm.
Right, right.
But to Justin's point, if the limitation is 6
Just
people,
for the main house.
you can get them all in the main house. Do you really need this little building? I mean, that's, although I guess you could rent it to different people. You could have 2 different couples into 2 different buildings and you're still in compliance, I guess you could do that.
Or you could live in the accessory and rent out
You
the
live in the
main house.
right,
anyway.
But again, that will require persuading the Board of Health that there's adequate septic for the accessory dwelling unit if they want to use it at all.
Yeah.
Seems to me, Mr. Gorlick, you got some thinking to do here.
How far is it from the creek? Is it close? Is that far enough?
It's about probably 200 yards. It's pretty far from the creek and downhill. Like it's nowhere close.
If you stand on the site, you don't see the creek. There's a cliff kind of thing. down
You
there.
see it in the winter.
I think I don't see how that last suggestion of having 2 bedrooms in 1 structure and 1 in another can ever be monitored. It
That's a good
doesn't
point.
make sense to me.
That's a good point.
I don't know how you monitor something like that, but I think the applicant has to, again, this is just my opinion. I think before we do anything, we have to make sure that this septic system is adequate for what he wants at this point in time. If the applicant wants to change his application, that's all well and good, but the application as it stands right now, unless the Board of Health says that septic system is adequate, I don't know. I just don't see how we can go any farther with it.
Yeah.
But
I
again,
I agree with that.
Are you saying that they could proceed with applying for short-term rental for the main house, but cease to use the accessory structure until that's legal?
yeah, he can't, it's not a legal structure right now.
Yeah.
So
He could
until
use
that's approved, or, you can't really rent that out now.
Live in it.
Use it.
It shouldn't
Maybe
be.
use it.
Well, I mean, I totally understand. The only thing that I can say about that is that we only found out about the structure not being fully permitted in the process of going through Airbnb application at the time when we were buying. And I understand that it may not have been listed in the listing as such, but when we were looking at the property, it was pretty clear to us showing that here's something that you guys can do here.
Mm.
I know it has nothing to do with the station right now, but we did not do any alterations. We did not have to do anything with plumbing. The only thing that we did is we ran a separate power line there just to make sure that there's no problems, and that's it.
But
If you look at your tax assessment or the parcel card, do you see accessory structure? Do you see an additional apartment?
I'm not sure.
wait, I have that somewhere. Hold on. It shows 4 bedrooms, so I assume it includes.
That's the main house. That's just the main house.
Well,
But
he says
you cannot go by the assessor's thing because she doesn't know whether that has a special
Yeah.
permit or something. She
par-
just
parcel
go-
access may not be the most accurate thing here. That's why I was asking.
She just
it-
go there and she doesn't know whether it has a special permit, what kind of approval it has.
So right now, Mr. Ulrich, I don't see how you can use that building for somebody to live there. That would be in violation. It seems to me your choices are either to deal with the Board of Health and come back and say, we're in compliance now and we want to apply for this as an accessory dwelling unit, or to leave it unoccupied and make a short-term rental application just on the main house, which again will require the Board of Health to weigh in.
Right.
okay. Well, I think that's the direction you might want to go in, and then get back to us with exactly what you want to do. Right now, this situation is very confusing, and without the Board of Health, I think it just stops us in our tracks until we can get some kind of answer from them. Okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda. Arlene, is the soil erosion folks still on?
Are there? Mark's there?
Yes, I'm here.
Marky, oh, there you are. Okay.
Yep.
Hey, go ahead. Give us an update here.
Good evening, everyone. We received, Arlene forwarded a letter from Pete Sotero. It was dated May 3rd. And we've had a chance to review it. I don't know if the board members also have seen a copy of that letter. And so just going through that, I just see some, I can go through each of the items if the board wishes.
I don't think that's necessary. Where do you think you stand on this, Mark, as far as addressing those items?
I think, Art, they're all easily addressed. Mainly it's some housekeeping items, a couple, some silt fence additions and erosion and sediment control additions and, providing, jute mesh in certain areas, things like that. I think it comes down to, it was mainly two items that require some, additions to the plan. And so the first one was relative to drainage easements. And so the reason that Pete mentioned that is because there's, drainage structures and drainage flows across two of the lots, the two lots that are part of the application. And actually, with our application to the health department, which we have addressed and responded to the health department actually requested the same type of drainage easements for the improvements that are being proposed. So those are actually already added to the plans, which I can forward to Pete Sotero. That handles, and it would be reciprocal drainage agreement and easements between the two lots, even though it's same ownership. Obviously, it's some documents that would be filed in the county clerk's office to ensure that if either of the lots were sold to another party, that the drainage would be allowed to freely flow without any interruption or issues with an adjoining neighbor. I also note, due to the change of the drainage easements, I also, the last time that we met, the board approved the lot line alteration. And so I added those drainage easements and detailed those, provide reference bearings and distances on the lot line alteration plat also. So that information has also been added to the lot line alteration plat. And so then the only other item, it's Pete's last item, and I'll just quickly paraphrase it, or I'll just read it. He said, though the common driveway itself will have a grade of no more than 14.9%, the slopes next to it are moderately steep and will be impacted by the grading of the driveway. Can the driveway be shifted or planned in another location where the slopes will not be impacted? The driveway will follow natural topography and minimize grading, and cuts and fills are minimized, and to retain the greatest extent possible a natural appearance upon completion. And that's just merely reciting a section of the town's zoning ordinance. And so my response to that is that, this application, we've spent quite a bit of time with the planning board, discussing, alternatives for access, reasons for that alternative access, that section of common driveway, in order to, mitigate any stormwater issues that existed, that created some issues in the past with the adjoining neighbor to the east, Walcoon. My stance is that, the location of that common driveway, I'll actually read my response, is that multiple alternatives have been explored for driveway development on the site. Understanding that some engineering challenges exist with the owner's preferred driveway alternative, the proposed location has considered improvements which are suitable for the proposed development, follow a natural and existing topographical pathway where possible, and has been designed in a way that minimizes gradings, cuts, and fills to the greatest extent possible, leaving a natural appearance upon completion. As such, it is believed the proposed designs satisfies section 250-72E1, 2, and 4 of the town of Clinton zoning code. So, we feel that it does meet the spirit of the town zoning code. And so in summary, I think that and, you know, we had discussion with Pete's office. Seth from my office had discussion with him earlier, and these were, Pete did not see these as major issues for this project.
Okay. Paul?
I think, Mark, I mean, I guess what would be great is if it sounds like there's already been communication, but if you could get with Pete and work out whatever other issues he's got, so that he can give us a green light, or green light with conditions or whatever, or whatever modifications he wants made, you know, or made to a revision of the plan, and then we can put you on for the next meeting and you know, finish this up.
Okay, I mean, I will note that in Pete's email, he indicated that, you know, a conditional approval was possible as far as he was concerned, but.
Is that the email to you or to us?
Let's see.
I mean, I don't know what kind of conditional thing we could do. This just seems like so many details that.
That's fine, Paul. I'm happy to, you know, we just got this the other day, you know.
Yeah, I know. We did too, yeah.
The other day, so I'm happy to, you know, to submit these responses and modification of plans to Pete and get a sign-off letter from him.
Yeah, I know. I understand why you're. It may be a little frustrating. I apologize. You know, it just seemed like there's people's schedules and the review just got delayed. So,
actually,
so,
I understand.
You know, you've been extreme. You as always did a great job. So, I think I'd be more comfortable than trying to put together an extremely complicated conditional approval that we basically get Pete to, you know, sign off on a revised plan. You submit that to us, and you know, he sends us something that just says, you know, here's what we're going to do, and we're going to, you know, the plan is good. It needs the following, you know, conditions, and we'll go ahead and do it.
That's fine.
Because I can't, you know, I read his comments, and you know, I mean, jute mesh and all that. I mean, it's, you know, I'm sorry, the jute mesh thing really.
I think that's the way to go. Mark,
Yes.
Can you get this done and be on the next meeting?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's actually, I have a letter complete now. I think what I'll do is send it out tomorrow. Just for protocol, is it, you know, I'll certainly follow with hard copies to Arlene, but if I can submit this digitally directly to Pete, is that acceptable to the board?
I personally don't have any problem with that. I think that's the quickest way to do things, and then Pete can get back to you and us at the same time. Makes sense?
Yeah, and so obviously I'll provide hard copies for Arlene, and, you know, and the board member, well, just a single copy. Once Pete signs off, I'll provide multiple copies, and I will, in any correspondence that I have with Pete, I will copy Arlene on it.
Good. Do you think you can have it all done by the next week to get on the next?
I believe so. I can't speak for Pete's schedule, but as I said, I'll have it to him tomorrow.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mark.
So, and Arlene, can you tell Pete, we have to have it.
Yeah, I know.
This one has got to get done.
Yeah. So if you could just email that to Pia Hammer, and then I'll say, you know, as soon as he give the go signal, and we could even just do, you know, as long as he sign up on it, and then we could act on it. You know?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark. Okay. Do we have Jerry, or do we have a resolution or anything from him, Arlene?
I have a resolution, but he's supposed to be in. He's not here. Oh, Jerry. I guess I'm gonna be. I have a resolution. Do you want me to send it to one of you guys? Do you want me to read it? I mean, I could read it.
Yeah, why don't you,
Can you
Okay.
share it on your screen?
What?
Can you do a screen share of it?
All right, hold on, let me just. We still have to do, does anybody has part 2 of the secra to read the part 2? We gotta do that for the,
For demo, this is a demolition.
Yeah.
I'll just state my objection to doing seeker for this, but if you insist.
I couldn't hear you, Paul. What did you
I just
say?
don't think we have to do seeker for demolitions, but Arlene thinks we do.
what we did before. Yes, you're demolishing and there's an impact on the environment.
Okay. If
Okay,
you're building it, you wouldn't have to do it. So tearing away, you have to do it for tearing it down.
who wants to handle this?
Paul will read the, let's start with her explaining it.
Okay, that's Michelle, right?
Hold
You're
on.
muted.
Okay, Michelle, you're good.
Yes, it's Margaret Baker, middle name Michelle.
Margaret, sorry, your screen said Michelle.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so this is the demolition request of a barn that was built in 1970 on double 2x4s, no foundation, plywood walls. It was built as a horse barn with, it was actually, could have been 4 stalls. It was 3 stalls with a feed area. And over the years, the bottom has rotted away. The barn is sinking into the ground. I've got damage to the roof at this point, and it's beyond repair. And what I'd like to do is take that down and I have a pending permit for another building to be put up in a different location to replace it.
Oh, yeah.
Something about a picture says 1,000 words. Oh,
Yeah, strong wind. I think it's slowed down.
All right, Paul, you could start with the secret, with the part 2, while I get the resolution, if you want.
Okay. So I'm going to read part 2. Item 1, with the proposed action, create a material conflict with adopted land use plan or zoning regulation. No or small impact. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of land? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a CEA? No. Will proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy or fail to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact public or private water supplies? That's A, no, or B, public-private wastewater treatment utilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No, probably actually improve them. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, e.g. wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora and fauna? Doesn't sound like it. And will the proposed action be result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No, or small impact. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. So do you have a motion for negative declaration there, Arlene? What do you want?
No, you could just do the short.
Move that the planning board Sorry.
Baker demolition.
In the matter of the Baker demolition permit that the planning board, I move that the planning board make a negative declaration of significance in connection with the secret review.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Art, aye.
Just an eye.
All right.
Ed, I.
Okay.
Lost our,
Opposed? So moved. Okay,
Hold on, I'm putting it on.
stop sharing.
I know, hold on, trying to save it. Application. Okay.
okay, do we have the resolution up, Arlene?
Yes, can you see it or no?
No,
Hold on.
I can't.
There you go, can you see it?
There you go. We got it.
Anybody wants to read it? Can you see it?
Yep.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Katerina. Let's
Okay.
have Katerina do
Kat-
her first
Yeah,
resolution.
why don't you read it?
Okay. The whole thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you said that I moved to, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, forget the Metcalf. He used the, don't use the
Yeah.
Metcalf. He
I would
used,
like to make I would like to make a motion that the Town of Clinton Planning Board approve the following resolution. Be it resolved, the Town of Clinton Planning Board issues a demolition plan approval to the building inspector for the barn belonging to Margaret M. Baker on property located at 412, 416 Hollow Road. Tax grid 13 2400 6367000691100000, a 2-acre parcel in the AR3 zone. Whereas the barn in this application for demolition was built in 1970 on this non-conforming pre-existing 2-acre parcel, it is 16 by 24 structure with no foundation. There is not any designation of significance on this barn or property as confirmed by Dutchess County, New York. This barn is being demolished because it is beyond repair, having sunk into the ground, such as the doors don't work and the part of the roof has caved in. There is no historic value to this barn. Demolition will take place by machine and loaded into the dumpster for removal. Proposed future use for the property is to build a new 12 by 30 building for which a building permit has been submitted for construction at another location on the property. The applicant provided comprehensive interior and exterior photos of the barn. Also provided was a hand-drawn plan for the exterior of the building and showing the location of the primary structure and barn on the property and the planned location of the new building. At the meeting on May 4th, 21, the environmental assessment form submitted by the applicant was completed by the board, resulting in a negative declaration, which was approved by the board. All appropriate fees have been paid. Now therefore be it resolved, the requested demolition plan is granted approval by the Town of Clinton Planning Board.
Have a second? Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Art, aye.
Just an eye.
Jack, aye.
All right.
And I.
Okay,
you're good,
so
Margaret.
moved. You're all set.
Thank you all so much.
Take care. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the Cross 3 lot subdivision. Is anybody here? Oh, somebody's here. There we go.
Yes, Steve Alex here, representing Peter Cross.
Okay. All right. Why don't you let us know what you're doing?
Okay. The Cross Farm is located actually at 1403 Center Road, not far north of the town hall. You probably all are familiar with it. It's comprised of 61 acres bisected by Center Road. There's 16 acres on the east side of the road and 44.7 acres on the west side of the road.
What's up, Steve? Can you see my screen?
Yes. The it's an existing horse farm. There's a dwelling in the horse facility, equestrian facility on the west side of the road, and a barn and some pasture on the east side. Little Wappinger Creek runs through the property, and there is a wetland and flood zone associated with the creek and the bottomland there. We did delineate the wetlands, and are showing that on the survey. Because of the close proximity to the improvements, we wanted to get a good delineation on that, and that's shown there. We're proposing a 3-lot subdivision. Lot 1 being the equestrian facility and 28 acres, 28.36 acres. Lot 2 being the dwelling and 16.32 acres. And lot 2 will include much of that bottomland that runs out between the stream and Center Road. And lot 3 is the barn and the land on the east side of the road. We're showing the approximate location of the septic systems on both lots 1 and 2. We were able to recover approval records for both systems at the Department of Health, and I had to forward them to the board, but we just got them today, so it's fortunate we did find them. The house, let's see, the house system was approved in 1975. I do have a copy of that, which I'll forward to the board. The house system's located behind the house, between the house and the pool in that backyard. The well for the house is located off the northeast corner of the house in the front yard. The septic system for the stable / apartment is located to the south of the stable between the 2 paddock areas. And that was approved in 2013, actually. And I have a copy of that approval as well, which I'll forward to the board. So we're seeking a subdivision for 3 lots here. And a couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention. There's a couple of existing nonconformities here, which I suspect we may have to seek variances for. One, the house doesn't meet the front yard setback. That house is very old. I don't know the exact date of the house, but I think it's from the 1800s or maybe earlier, not sure of the date. The barn across the street is also too close to the road line. And on lot 1, off to the west, you can pan the map over, Arlene. Yeah. The stable is a little bit shy. It's 47.6 feet to the property line. And that shed there is a little close as well. That shed is on a concrete foundation. So is not movable, so to speak. So I think we'd be seeking relief from 50 feet to the 38.6, which would then include allow for the stable as well. So curious to know to hear what the board thinks of those potential variances. And I think your process to refer the applicant to the ZBA, or how does your zoning process work in town?
Yes, you'd go to the zoning enforcement officer. He would take a look at it and see what variances you need. It comes to us. And then we would make a recommendation to the zoning board of appeals. They make the final decision on the variances.
Sure.
But, now, is this ag exempt?
That I don't know. Is Peter Cross on the meeting? Was he able to log in?
Yeah, he just have to unmute. Peter is here. Peter, unmute.
I'm here.
Hello, Peter.
Yeah.
Do you have an ag exemption?
I do have an ag exemption, and the house actually dates back to 1790.
Okay. Jack?
Yeah, I reached the same conclusion with, this is our usual chicken and egg problem. Do they go for the variances or the preliminary approval? But I think it makes sense to do the variances here first. One question I have, when I went to look at it Saturday, in addition to the distance of the stable from the property line, it looked like the garage on proposed lot 2 was way closer than 50 feet from the proposed property line. Are you planning to seek a variance for that one as well?
I think the garage is in excess of 50 feet. We're showing 50 feet to the stable.
Yeah,
And,
I didn't see a dimension from the proposed line to the garage. When I was there with Mr. Cross Saturday and we were standing next to a fence, he said that was the line, and that was about 12, 15 feet or so from the garage. So I could be wrong about that, but you might want to take a look at that with the zoning officer. But
well, the way we have the line drawn, it's in excess of 50 feet. We made sure of that when we drew the line. So we'll put a dimension on there between the line and the garage.
Would you? Because we may be looking at the wrong post for the, but there was like a paddock and it had a fence, and the fence was 10, 15 feet from the garage. And I thought that was the proposed line. Otherwise, you've got a property line running through the middle of a paddock with the fence on one side in one lot and part of the paddock in the other. But I'm flagging it for you when you see variance.
Yeah. Well, we wanted the lot to conform to the zoning, so it does run through the paddock a little bit. So it's easier probably to move a little fence.
Yeah.
If in the end.
It's not, whatever you want to do. It sort of jumped out at me. But I think the way to proceed here, again, it would be to get the variances first and then come back, and we can probably try and combine preliminary and final approval or something like that and have one public hearing on it. When I spoke to Mr. Cross, he pointed out that he had been trying to sell this for a couple of years as a single entity, and that hasn't happened. And he and the real estate folks thought this might be a more viable way to deal with the sale issue, and that makes some sense to me at least. So I'm sympathetic to it, but I just think that in terms of our relationship to the ZBA and whatnot, we should not presume that variances will automatically be granted, and you should go that route and then come back to the
Interestingly, the variances we need are existing conformities, and they're to existing perimeter lines. The proposed line won't create any instances where we'll need variances. So I don't anticipate I would think that the ZBA would be
I,
accepting of this, but
I-
of course we'll have to go
I
through.
would think so too, but I'm just as a matter of procedure hesitant to speak for the ZBA on this sort of thing, or to
Of
presume
course,
they would do. But I don't disagree with you that when you're talking about, variances for a building that's been there since the 18th century, that you should be fairly confident of getting the variance.
Okay. I think that's the correct way to proceed. If you get the meeting with the zoning officer and he comes up with the variances you need, we can do the variance, the recommendation. That'll then go to the ZBA, which makes the final decision. And in the meantime, this doesn't look like a very complicated subdivision.
Gotten to 1803. Make a quick jump to 1803.
I'd be more comfortable doing it after the variances were given. I don't know how you feel about that, Jack, or the rest of the.
I agree with that. I think that is the proper deference to show and the proper way to proceed.
Okay.
Can I raise a couple other points, or
Sure.
just since we're scoping this out, and with respect to lot 3, there's no existing water or septic on there on lot 3, right? That's where the barn is.
correct. There's no septic system. There is a well there, but I think it's a frost well probably for horses, livestock.
Barn. Yeah.
What have you. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot going on in that piece. There's a flood area. There's wetlands. One of the requirements of creating this lot will be demonstrating that it's buildable. And so I think we would need to see, it looks like it already has access. I go by there all the time, so I know there is an access point there. But I would think we would need a building envelope and a feasible septic site, well site put on this map for lot 3. If somebody's going to buy this and build on it, or use the barn as a house, there has to be, there has to be a feasible building lot is really the issue. So just given the constraints, I'm just wondering how you think, how you might accomplish that. Is there a way of showing where a septic and well could be installed and how the access would work and what the envelope would be?
Yeah, that's certainly not a problem. We show the setbacks, the buffers for the wetlands and the floodplain on there now. So clearly that high area to the north and west of the barn is the likely location for any new dwelling. We can do soil tests. We can do deep soil tests and percolation tests to show that the soil is adequate. And we can also spot a well on there. Access to the site. There are already 2 access points, one to the southeast side of the garage. There's a asphalt apron, but also kind of in the middle of that westerly half, there's an agricultural, call it an agricultural entrance, but a farm entrance that I think is pretty frequently used to pull into those paddock areas west of the barns. So we can show that as well.
Yeah.
So if that is enough information to satisfy the board that it's a buildable lot, I think that's the least we can do to potentially satisfy the board and show that it's buildable.
A sort of similar, I know that the lot 1 is the equestrian facility and theoretically would be sold as an equestrian facility and not as a residential lot. I don't know the answer to this. I'm just throwing this out. You know, should the board have the same, you know, should we do the same review for that lot? In other words, should there be a feasible house site somewhere on this property so that, you know, it is feasible to build a house? I don't actually don't know the answer to that. I mean, it's already something else.
We already have a recent health department approval for that lot.
Yeah. So this would be, it wouldn't be the septic, I guess. It would be, you would just be, you know, is there a building envelope that's you know, that's clear of all the buffers and everything else? It looks like there might be.
Yes, plenty
Yeah,
of
plenty of
area
room.
for that.
Yeah.
You could also
What's that?
I'm just thinking there are existing quite large stables on it.
Yeah,
So-
it could be converted, sure. And then these sort of farm access roads. I mean, this is a county road, so if they were driveways, they'd have to have approval from the county. I don't know whether that's something that's.
Well, they have they're major entrances into the site now. The driveway entrance for the house and the exit driveway, ingress and egress driveway here. That main driveway into the equestrian facility are both regularly used for both the equestrian facility and the residents.
There's also a driveway into the lot on the other side of the road.
Yeah,
directly across from the
and the barn itself is virtually on the road.
Yeah,
So
I'm just talking about, right, it would just be if somebody buys it and wants to put a driveway in, would they be able to do it? So
the driveway's there.
I know it's there. It's a question of what approvals, you know, was that approved by the county?
Whether it meets the right site distance.
Is it, you know, there are all kinds of roads all over the place in this town, and some of them are approved and some of them aren't, and it may very well be fine. I'm just raising the question as maybe an item that we would have to check off at some point.
Yeah, you know what it is? Because you're creating new lots, then the county or they have to approve the site distance to make sure that, you know, it's in.
That's where, yeah, thank you. That's what I'm. Because if the county says you can't put a road anywhere, you know, it's very unlikely. But if they said, well, no, you can't put another road, you know, they can't put a driveway anywhere along here, then we kind of have an access issue. It's not likely that would happen, but anyway, that's an item for later on in the process. I just thought I'd raise it.
Okay. Okay, so I think the applicant has a good idea what to do next. And the faster you get that done, the faster we can get moving on the rest of the application. So I suggest getting to the zoning officer and find out exactly what you need for this proposed subdivision. Okay?
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Good luck. Okay. See, the next item on the agenda is the Verizon cell tower special permit. Do we have anybody here for that?
It's Scott.
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
Decade.
And who are you?
My name is Scott Olson. I'm an attorney. I represent Verizon Wireless.
Okay.
Who is this? Is there anybody else with you?
No, I think I'm the only one here tonight for Verizon Wireless.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Put up.
Okay, can you give us an overview on why you're here?
Sure, absolutely. So we're here primarily for two reasons. The first, as you know or may know, Verizon Wireless currently operates an existing wireless facility at 90 German Road, and it's in an existing silo. It's a 58-foot tall silo. You don't see any antennas. They're all internal. We have a 12-foot by 30-foot equipment shelter. we want to change some of the antennas on the inside. We have 12 antennas. We want to remove 9 of them and just do a little upgrade. So we'll still have 12 antennas. But we have to come to you for that. And in that process, we learned that the existing special use permit may be expired. So we want to take the opportunity to also, I guess, renew or get a new one, along with what we're trying to do with our antenna replacement.
Okay. Justin?
Yeah, so I guess I'll kind of lay out for the board where I think we are and get some feedback. But just at the outset, I think that the fact that this is self-contained and it's been operating for almost 20 years now, and they're replacing antennas and upgrading to 4G is great. I'm sure a lot of people will be happy about that. So I'm just kind of focused more on the process and what I think the town code says, and then there's a federal law from 2012 that they gave us that I think comes into play here, but I just kind of want to lay it all out there and open up for conversation. So from what I can see, the initial permit was granted in 2003, and then it was maybe renewed, maybe not until, the last one would have been in 2008. It's a 2-year cycle, so maybe it's been in place since 2010. But there was effectively lapsed for the last 10 or 11 years, from what I could tell from our materials. Since it has lapsed, the code says that it's got to be a new application. It's not a renewal, and new applications are obviously pretty in depth. With the one exception that there is a provision in the communications tower law that allows for an expedited application if there's certain criteria met, which I think they are here, which is that it's concealed from view in a silo, and a few other provisions. Sorry. You basically get to do a short form EAF. You don't have to do a 5-year build out plan because you're not building, you're just putting something in structures, and it just gets rid of some of the requirements. But this section of the law is, I don't know, 10, 12 pages. There's a lot here. So I think that we're not in a renewal. We are, unless Scott has something different for me, I think we are in the new application phase. I'd also note for the board that both the operator, Verizon, requires a special permit, and also the landowner requires a special permit that evidences their lease with Verizon. And so I didn't see that included in this packet. I think that's required as well. And then on top of that, there is a federal law from 2012, and Scott can correct me if I'm wrong, but it basically says that all state and local governments have to approve any application to upgrade, this type of wireless communication stuff, subject to the federal environmental law. And it's not clear to me if that includes SECRA, which was based on that federal environmental law. So I will leave that question open. But, in my mind, it's like, okay, so if we have a federal law and it does, tell us what we need to do, does that mean that, they still need to submit an application and check off all the 50 requirements? And as long as they do that, then we have to approve it. Do they get to skip any of those steps? Does this SECRA, is that overridden by the federal law? Is it exempted by the federal law? There's a lot of questions here. So I don't know if Scott, you want to take the first stab at any of those.
Sure.
But that's kind of where I came out after looking at everything.
Sure. No, that's a good summary. And I think I said earlier, renew, but you're right. It's not really a renewal. Technically, under your law, it would be a new permit because the old permit ceases to exist. And in terms of SECRA, I believe that SECRA does apply still, because it's a new permit. Because we have there's a little interaction between federal and state in the sense that we do have a federal license to operate, actually several licenses to operate different frequencies. So that's where that Justin, what you mentioned, that environmental federal law comes into place, but there's nothing to really do for that. So just number one, this is an existing facility. Number two, if we were building a new facility, the federal law basically is very passive in the sense that we just have to make sure that, in the past, when we built the original facility, we've conducted our due diligence. And the federal government can audit us at any point in time to make sure that we're complying with it. So since it's an existing facility, there's not really much to do here. In other words, the FCC is not reviewing an application. We have general market licenses to build out our networks. But notwithstanding the federal law, yeah, I think this board has to go through seeker. And that's why we did submit a new application. There's a lot of information requested in your law. I think your law, is relatively old, and probably could be updated somewhat, but that's not your concern, obviously. We gave you what we really think are the important supporting materials. We provided the structural analysis just to show you that if we make these changes, which will add about 1,000+ pounds to the structure, that the structure has more than excess capacity to accommodate that. We've also provided information that, that these new antennas combined with the existing antennas, they will be fully compliant with the FCC requirements. Sometimes you hear about health impacts. There are no health impacts. These antennas are located 45 feet, give or take, in the air. And under the FCC regulations, any antenna located 10 meters or 33 feet above the ground is exempt from any type of health impact analysis. But we provided you with an engineered signed report that confirms we are perfectly within the FCC parameters. We've given you some other information, our licenses, an RF justification to show you why we're doing this. If you need some additional information, I'm sure we can put that together for you.
The two questions I had, Scott, were one so I have your packet, the book that you guys made, and in tab 1 with the application, there's, you basically answer the first 3 or 4 questions, and then the rest of it is not applicable. And then in my tab 2, which is the short form environmental form, that is just blank with a signature at the back. And I didn't know if that was intentional or a draft, or if I have a strange copy. I don't know what anyone else has.
Okay. I wish I had, well, I do have it online. I can look. I don't know if that's the case. Sometimes with PDFs, and I'm going to look, I'm going to talk while I look. Sometimes with PDFs, they don't come out the right way. Like if it's not, I'm not a real technical person. See, my PDF is all completed here. So you said yours is blank?
Yes.
Yeah, and mine is blank also.
Is our Adobe out of date?
But you know what it might be? Sometimes with Adobe, what you have to do, and see, mine's all completed, and I will figure out how to send the completed version to you. I think if you complete an online form,
you save it and scan it. Save it as PDF. And
yes,
scan it. Yeah.
the fields have to be, I forget what they call it, but like fixed. And that's happened before where I've gotten applications back and I don't see anything because we send it out to a printer. But Arlene, what I'll do is I'll print my version, scan it, and send it to you. I apologize for that. We should have caught that.
No, I was like, maybe they think the federal law preempts it, and then they just need a signature.
No, it's so yeah. The signature is because that's not part of the actual form. He actually signed it. So okay.
The site plan is not blank. It just says not applicable for everything after the first 3 questions.
The reason we did that was this is it's an unusual situation because we do have an existing facility that's up and running. So a lot of those questions, everything is there. That's why I think the person said not applicable.
Okay.
I mean, is it really just a wait? Should we be doing a waiver instead of NA?
That's certainly an option. You know, again, it's kind of a unique situation, and I
You guys are
apologize.
saying a site plan is moot because it's already there, so who cares?
Yeah, I mean, you still have to go through the review because it's the facility is there and nothing is physically being changed on the exterior. So it's just, that's why I think they put NA.
I mean, it goes back to the problem of it lapsing, and now we're, you know, acting like it's a new application, right? A new application, you want to see all this stuff, but
Right. And you would look at the new application and say, hey, does this make sense? Does this design make sense? And that's why you'd be looking at all those different things. But in the past, like you said, in 2003, the planning board said this was the proper design and that's how it was built. So.
Well, we will need that information, okay? You can get that to Arlene and get it passed on to us as soon as possible.
Absolutely. I'll send it in tomorrow to you, Arlene.
Good.
That's not a problem.
Okay. Justin, where do you see this going? As far as, do we need any outside, do we have to submit this to our engineers or anything like that?
yeah, I mean, I guess one thing before we get there, I mean, so do you think that the federal law has any, it seemed to me like it was kind of prescribing our eventual decision that we have to approve this, but is that not what you're saying, Scott, that we still have, we run through our process and we take a vote, or does the federal law impact how we are supposed to decide the ultimate issue?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because the federal law, it's there. It was in 2012. We call it the TRA, but what it really was the Middle Class Tax Relief and Job Creation Act. And what does this have to do with job creation? Nothing. It was stuck on, they do that in Washington. They stick it on. It was a broadband bunch of provisions. This kind of piggybacked that. And like Justin, what it says basically is if any modification to an existing facility, as long as you're not substantially increasing the dimensions, and it defines what that is, and we're not, basically you have to approve this in 60 days. But at the same time, it still gives you the right to review it. And so you still have that right to review it and make a decision on it. There honestly has not been a lot of case law on this. We added it just to try to explain that, we're not substantially increasing the facility, and we think that this could certainly fall under that. But we want to respect your authority, and we don't want to just, honestly be obnoxious and just come in. Listen, we should have done this before, and we want to make sure we get it corrected the proper way.
Yeah, and so I guess this goes to the question you asked, which is how much time and money do we want to spend reviewing, hiring professionals and doing all this so that we can switch out antennas hidden in a silo, right? Probably something, but I don't know. I mean, I kind of defer to the board. I think we have to make, it's not being prescribed to us in the way that I thought it was, that it's just saying like, hey, you have to take this, right? I think we still have some diligence to do, and you can set an escrow. I think another thing that we should consider is, what's the application fee for these special use permits, and the fact that they've gone 11 years without one, right? Do they need to make, whole on if they had done the applications and paid the fees for the last 10 years? Like, I don't know. I don't know how we deal with that. But I think you want to kind of encourage people, right, to be following the laws and making sure they're coming 2 years. And yeah, it's annoying, but the flip side is that then it's just a renewal and it's not this whole process and spending all of our time. So in my mind, I think, maybe we have a professional tell us that the application is complete, that nothing's really changing, that it's fine. I don't know who the right person to do that is. We bring them current on the application fees as if they had done it since 2010. And we all get better cell phone service. I think that's a win-win for everyone.
Well, the last time that we did this, when the original permit for the tower, uh, we had to go to the outside to hire a special person to review this. And it was, it took quite some time. It wasn't easy finding somebody to do this. It all came out in favor of Verizon and what we thought. As far as I can see here, all we're doing really is switching some antennas. We're not doing a lot of structural work. I would like to see the seeker forms filled out so we can review them. And I think we need an opinion on the problem that we have with Verizon not having a permit for the last 8 years, probably, or whatever it is. And I think that's a good point you brought up, Justin. So I don't know if we need have to give this to somebody at our engineering facility to review it. That's my opinion.
Just more thing, right? I don't know if, right? I mean, I assume, right, they put in all these nice FCC things. Like, that's not the kind of lawyer I am, or Paul, or Jack, or I don't know, Kat, if you, anyone, right, can understand these things. I assume they're all fine. I assume it's great. I assume we're going to get better cell service, and it's going to be healthy for everyone, and everything else. But I'm not qualified to say that.
The last time, Scott, we I think the lawyers did there's a restoration bond and removal bond. So we also have to check whether those are still in place. There are all kinds of legal documents that has to be involved with this.
Yeah, I can provide, I'll have to do some digging.
Yeah.
The bonds are never released or terminated as long as the site remains active. But, even though I was doing this work in 2003, I wasn't specifically doing this site. And just for the record, had I been doing the site, my process is to keep track of this on my calendar. So as we go through this process, if the board issues the new special use permit, I then track it on my calendar. So 2 years from now, a year and a half from now, it's gonna come up and say, I've got to go back to this board to get it done. That's as a courtesy, I do that for Verizon.
I found the removal bond in 2003, so we have to make sure that this is still good. Also, do you remember in 2015 when you came back and then the town planner gave an estimate about a removal bond too, but I don't think it ever happened because she went away. So, but there's the town lawyer, the town attorney has to be involved with this.
Okay.
Sorry.
And stuff.
And I think I actually, that rings a bell. I think I actually have the, I think we got the 2003 application. Again, I didn't do it, but I think we worked with you, Arlene, and
yeah,
you were kind enough to get it to us. We copied it and got it back to you.
Yeah, I have the paper, I have the bond. I just don't know where we at.
What I'm going to do then is I'll look in my original file for that and track that down to confirm that it's still good.
Yes.
Okay.
So do we have a professional that we used last time that we could just check in with and spend $500 to have them review the file or something like that? Is that crazy?
Why don't we ask Pete to give us the name of somebody? They may even have somebody at his firm that does this. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm lost when it comes to this. I remember being with it. Yeah.
We went through the whole rigorous thing.
It was very, very complicated.
Do we want a legal opinion also? Because Justin's issue is a good one of, what do you do about the past fees? And then you've got this federal law, which does seem, at least on the face of it, to maybe preempt everything else. I mean, do we want our lawyer to tell us what the scope of the review would be from a legal perspective, and then also do the P aspect? It seems like there's many legal questions as engineering questions.
What's a state's power to set laws and have the federal government not trump them? I mean, that was on the bar exam, right? I don't remember. Seems important though.
I think we should really involve the town attorney. He's familiar with the case before, you know.
So we're gonna need.
My view on the fees though is that you've got to go back and charge, right? If they've been running a commercial operation that required a permit the entire time, you've got to go back and charge the fees in the going back, because otherwise, right, they're only going to come to us every 15 or 20 years. And no, I'm sure Scott's going to put on his calendar, but otherwise they just come back 15, 20 years later when they need to make a change and say, oh yeah, didn't pay that, but here's my, $1,000 application fee now.
Right.
And I just don't think you want to set that, precedent.
Agreed. So we will need an escrow for the attorney. And
the only thing I'd say, I remember when this came up, the name of we had a consultant who specializes in cell towers, and I kept his resume. I kept his resume for a really long time, and then I was like, do I really need this? But I may still have it, but we can ask Pete. Because
I think I still have it too. I think I still have
whoever that person is, maybe retired by now, but I remember that there are these people who specialize in this stuff. So yeah.
Neil Wilson gave.
But when do you think you're going to come back to us and ask for 5G? This is going to 4G?
Yeah, this is, 5G is being rolled out in different parts of the state. I am not privy to everything they're doing. I don't think they're going to be coming back for 5G in the very near future here, because they're trying to roll it out first in places like the city of Rochester, the city of Syracuse, New York City. They're trying to hit, honestly, some big population areas. Kind of how they rolled out other 4G and everything like that. But what's your opinion on 5G? Because every town I go to, some people, you love it or hate it.
I think people here will be happy to have internet.
Yeah.
I think I'm still on F, so I don't know.
We might discount your fees if you give us 5G.
5G.
Justin, what do you think we need? We're probably going to need two separate escrows, one for our attorney and one for the question mark.
The FCC specialists.
Yeah. So
can we just do one bigger joint escrow that feeds both?
No, we used to do like different. They have their own money because the town attorney eats up quick.
Yeah. I think we should have two, don't you, Arlene?
Yes. Yes. We
All right.
always do the separate.
Why don't we have a legal escrow account of $2,000?
Oh, that's not going to be enough. 5,000.
I have no idea what this.
Sorry, Scott. You know how the lawyers fee goes?
Well, I'm going to switch sides then.
Right? The legal stuff is not hard. It's time consuming. I don't think.
Okay.
Jack or Paul, I mean, do you guys disagree?
Yeah,
it's not going to break Verizon, and they get money back if it's not used.
Yeah.
2,000, buys you lunch with someone.
Okay. All right, let's make it. How about 5,000? I feel like I'm at a casino here.
5,000 for the attorney only?
Now you can afford Jack.
Yeah. Is that okay? Is that okay with my legal team here?
More than enough.
But wait, is that 5,000 just for the attorney?
Yeah, just for the attorney.
What does your attorney charge, or hourly rates? I mean, this is probably
you have to ask.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you, but that's a lot.
Scott, he's gonna start with a bond. He's gonna review the bond for now, you know, all the history for that bond going back. That's gonna take his time.
It's an hour, but anyway, I listen, I'm not opposed to providing a suitable amount. I'm just saying in my experience, given that we have an existing site, that seems like it's a lot. I think 2,000 is reasonable. And if he goes through it, listen, if we've upped the escrow in times when, you know, it's taken more time. We're not going away. I mean, I know we haven't been here for a long time, but we could have still stayed away, but we were talking to Verizon, so we have to get this done the right way finally.
Well, we would have found you, believe me, Scott, because this has come up. So do we have a motion on the floor for an escrow account of 5,000? We gotta move, folks.
Justin. Motion, Justin.
Sure. I move to set an escrow account for legal fees in the amount of $5,000.
Okay, second. Do we need a second? Jack?
Second.
Second.
Okay, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Paul, aye.
Aye.
Cat?
Cat eye.
Okay, all right. So moved. All right, now an escrow for engineering. Let's give it that category. Couple of thousand there should do it, I would think, in the beginning. We might not need very much of it, but let's see.
All right, I make a motion to set an escrow for engineering for $2,000.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Art, aye.
Aye. Paul, aye.
Aye.
Cat eye.
Okay, so moved. So what we need now is to get the information. Scott, you're gonna get us the information on the seeker and get us the escrow checks. We'll get this information on the bonds and the past due fees to our attorneys and appropriate questions. Will you take the forefront on that, Justin?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. We're all set.
All right. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Okay. Thank you, Scott.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. Justin, I wouldn't ask the right questions. That's why I'm asking you to do it. When you have Justin speak to Capolino or whoever is handling this, okay?
Shane, yeah.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, so they don't need the $5,000.
Don't, they're gonna be crying if they found out what they owe for 10 years. What about, don't they have to do the balloon test, the visual test? We did all this before, especially by Taconic.
I don't think so, because they're not changing the physical plant at all.
There's a streamline, right? There's a streamline application that takes away a lot of the stuff because it already exists and it's hidden from view. I mean, we'll see, but.
I mean, but we definitely need a public hearing because.
Yes.
So, and so whether it's a short form and a long form, that's also a question.
Short, no, streamline is short form and you can waive the visual.
But we need to make sure that we're doing it
Well,
right.
why don't we, I will talk to Pete. Okay, I'll give Pete a call. And I'll ask him to get on the case with this, all right? He can give us a recommendation of somebody to look at the application. Does that sound okay, folks?
Yep.
Great.
We had Neil Wilson going back, the town planner. So the town planner was the one who did the resolution, who guided us through the process.
Yeah. Well, we don't have a Neil Wilson anymore. Okay, let's see, we got, is Dean still around?
Fell asleep?
Yeah.
Dean,
know, we
I
got-
hear you.
Dean, we got an opening, so if you'd like to get on the board, you can see how much fun we get and all the money we make.
Might have a few more openings.
Ask him, how much did we charge the Verizon for all those years?
Yeah,
If it's 1,200 a year, 2 years. I
is
mean,
that what it is?
well,
12?
it went up to 1,200 in 2015.
Yeah, it's like $6,000 probably.
Yeah, we got to nail them for that. Okay, Dean, do you have anything for us?
No, I mean, just as a comment from the, sorry, my eyes are watering. As a comment from the conversation with the Airbnb the Airbnb property, you don't only just look at the tank size, but you have to look at the field size. So someone may have changed the tank and put a bigger tank in, but they may not have increased the fields. So it also has to have an accommodation for the fields for the number of bedrooms. My personal opinion is, if you've ever rented in a rental property, everybody tries to maximize the number of people that they can squeeze into a rental unit. And so they usually have a fold out couch and everything else. So I think you got to err on the side of what's the highest possibility. So the fact that the county says it's a 4-bedroom, unless the building inspector or the zoning enforcement officer goes in and verifies it's not, I think you have to assume that it's 4-bedroom already.
Yeah, it's a 2-part process, I think. For the Board of Health, it's number of bedrooms. For the short-term rental, it's number of people. And as you point out, that can be very different concepts.
That's true. Because you're putting a lot of people in there constant. In the meantime, the size of the septic, and you're right. I mean, they could put a lot of people in there. That's why when you maximize the number of people, I mean, really.
I also heard the word loft go by rather quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a room could be a room without a closet. And technically, it's not a bedroom, but still, like I said, any of the rental properties I've ever seen, they usually have the fold-out couch, and they're putting down that this 2-bedroom can accommodate 8 people, and it's not, basically how the septic tanks are designed to handle. When you're figuring a 2-bedroom house, you're assuming 4 people. So I mean, that's typically what you assume. But we can't monitor how many people are coming in and out, and
Yes.
so that's why I say you almost have to assume the worst and take the county record that's 4 bedrooms to unless it's proved otherwise. That's what you got to kind of go by. My thoughts.
I mean, they advertise the houses as 8 people and 4 people capacity, so it's 12 total, right?
They advertise that little accessory thing is 4 people?
Yeah. Mhm.
The other thing with the accessory building,
Standing up,
from what I
maybe.
saw, pictures online, it looked like that whole inside of that place was remodeled. So
Oh,
They
yeah.
said it was, yeah. That's what-
$60,000.
and he said that he put a new power line in. Was there a building permit given for that new power line? I mean, there should have been
No,
an
there's
electrical
there's-
inspection.
I know. I mean, it's the first time I've seen all the renovation, there's no permit for that. So
I had been to that house when it was for sale, so
I've
I
been
don't
there too.
remember if-
I seen it. There was a kitchen in the basement, but we
Yeah.
asked to remove.
right. So anyway, nonetheless, just like in general, what I'm saying is that we have to kind of assume the worst. I'll have to ask the board because the spirit of allowing for Airbnb was that somebody's renting out their house. The fact that we're now looking at the possibility of multiple buildings on the property all being Airbnb, I think kind of stretches what our intent was. So I'll have to have that discussion.
And by the way, we're the very first to talk to the county. So even though the village, Mylan passed the SDR, we're the very first one, I guess, who's doing this, the planning board right now.
Yeah.
So, we're like the guinea pig.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, like they've been renting the small house since August 2019. So if he bought it in this, I mean, they basically bought it, flipped it, and started renting it out immediately.
Yeah, I see
Um,
cars in front of the in front of that garage all the time. So it's being actively rented now.
mhm.
Well, the problem is I think when we passed the resolution or the law, you said that they have 6 months to come forward.
Right, but if that apartment's illegal to begin with, it has nothing to do with
Oh,
Airbnb.
That's true. That's true.
That,
The
that
cottage,
is true.
the cottage.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So what's the feedback? I mean, is the zoning officer going to go and issue a violation? What's the feedback mechanism, right?
Well,
And
technically,
even
it
like
has-
broadly, like he basically has an illegal structure without paying property taxes for it for 2 years. Like,
Well,
what's
it's
the
not so much the
feedback?
property tax issue. It's the fact that, is this in compliance? Is someone going to get hurt? Is the building up to code? And all these other things that would be more of a safety concern.
Mhm.
As far as whether there was more taxes that should have been collected is probably the lowest thing on the list.
So will we have our zoning enforcement officer? I don't recall seeing a violation. I mean, is there a cease and desist on that?
There's nothing on it.
He
In
didn't
the
do a
package
cease
I
and
got-
desist, but
Well, it came up because he went to the inspection and he found that it was in violation because they tried to apply for an Airbnb thinking
Right.
everything was fine. So he's already told them it's not fine. So, but they have their neighbor living there apparently. So I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Whoever. Yeah.
whoever, yeah, they probably should get a cease and desist on that then. If that's not, we'll have to talk to John on that. Okay. Anybody on the board? Arlene, anybody have anything?
oh, they're doing the conference center. You want to talk to them about it, Dean?
Yeah, we're supposed to have the public hearing. We're only allotting like 5-10 minutes, so it's not a lot, but next Tuesday will be the conference center code. So if you have any comments on it, either send them in or log in.
Okay.
I thought we passed, this is not ag events, something else?
No, we did the ag events.
What we did was we have an existing conference center law. And so since we now have split off the event law from the conference center, we modified the conference center law
Okay.
to kind of match and parrot the event law and separate it better define it, I guess.
Do we have a big demand for conference centers in the town?
No, we only have one place that's a conference center.
That's what I thought.
And they're supposedly changing from the conference center to an event, but I guess there's some issues with that as well, that they're trying to operate as a hotel and a
Yeah.
restaurant.
That's
So,
the Duchess, right?
right, exactly.
And we have the ag events. I'm just supposed to submit it tomorrow, so I believe she's ready for next meeting. Adrian's farm.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Hmm.
All
Oh,
right.
the Black Snake?
Yeah, that one.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Anybody else have anything?
Lots of SDR in line.
Well, thank you, everybody. Everybody did a great job tonight. It was a lot of research and Paul, I think we got a good format for the Airbnbs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that looked pretty good to me. I don't know how.
I think we have
No,
to
I thought
figure
so
out,
too. I thought that was very helpful.
Yeah.
I do think we have to figure out if having two separate listings on the same lot is one or two separate permits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
the
these
law,
two homes are listed completely separately. you
Yeah,
know?
the way the law is written, it's one, but
Okay, okay,
I
okay.
think that's what Dean
What
was
the
saying.
law
I think
says.
Dean was saying, I think they
The law.
didn't really contemplate allowing that kind of thing, you know, where you have multiple buildings, but
Yeah, I mean, the
Because
couple of people that,
you have to assign occupancy to each of them has to, you know, they're
yeah,
completely.
you can do that. Yeah.
I mean, we had a conversation as to hosted where, you know, the person would be in the main house and then want to rent out an accessory structure. And
Mhm.
that would be considered hosted only for the fact that they're on the same property. But I didn't think we contemplated the fact that someone would be renting out both places. So,
Yeah.
And another thing is, what about those properties, like, let's say, used to be a farm? Now it's not a farm anymore. It's in the new owners, right? They have, let's say, 3 dwellings over there. Now they want to do 3 Airbnbs over there. So how do we handle that?
Yeah.
It's an existing multiple dwelling.
well, the board, you know, the board has discretion to put limits on that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So, you know, even with this one, if we said, look, you can have the house or the little building, but you can't have both. I mean, I don't know what you could do about it.
But if there is nothing on the law that prevents somebody from doing that, that could be challenged.
No, but they could be, but the board does have discretion to
We
control
can
that.
decide what the maximum number of
Exactly.
people is. Like, that gives us a lot of running room.
you know, again, talking about the number of people is very hard to regulate, but, you know, I think we have to discuss, well, I mean, I don't know. I have to talk to Shane because, you know, Shane was saying a lot of different things as to, you know, what the law would allow if someone were to challenge our rules. So I just gotta, you know, talk to Michael, who wrote the law in conjunction with Shane, and see where we're gonna go with this.
Yeah, I think that needs to be addressed, or even if you guys revise the law to address that, you know, because it's very, very new to everybody. So now
Yeah.
everything is coming up. So
I also wonder what if they wanted to rent, right, instead of the 2 listings, right? They had 2 buildings, but it's 1 listing, right? You know, does that make a difference? I don't know if it makes a difference. There's just a lot of permutations that I don't think we're going to see them all too.
Yeah.
Right?
oh yeah, I mean,
We're gonna see
we're getting a lot of people. They want to move to town of Clinton because we permit Airbnb now. So everybody wants to be in here, even for
Until they
investment,
come to
for
the planning board.
income. Seriously, it's scary.
Yeah.
You know, the scary part was that we were worried that, you know, some of the conversation came in that, let's say, Marriott comes in and wants to buy up a whole bunch of houses. Now, I remember when Beekman Arms was booking out all the time. This is going back 20 years ago, but Beekman Arms was booking out all the time, and they were buying up houses in the village just to have overflow places for them to rent. And so, you know, that's why maybe Rhinebeck's a little bit more critical on it. But, you know, we have to consider the fact that people may be buying up properties just to rent them out
That's what they're
for these
doing.
Airbnbs.
Exactly. That's
And
what
that
they're
kind of
doing.
changes the dynamics of the town.
Yes, it
Which
is.
is creating housing pressure, right? Here, Ulster County, it changes the housing inventory, and it drives rents up, and it's harmful to low-income people. There's a ton of follow-on effects.
Yeah, it drives up rent, drives up house prices.
Well, I think what's interesting is that it's middle of May and we so far had 2 applications for Airbnb. Well, we know there's hundreds of them. So I don't know where the rest of them are sitting.
Well, we have a lot. You know what it is? They have to comply before they could go before the planning board. I have like probably 4 or 5 right now, but they have to button up a lot of stuff before I could finally put you on the agenda. So
How many do we have? Do we have 80 or 180?
I mean, total.
I heard 70 or 80, but I don't know. That
Okay, it was like 80 or 82. There was a
about
study.
a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be more. Of course, with the property tax increase I got zapped with this week, there may be less desire to buy. So
you had 1,700 other people.
There's this
well,
one.
me first, and then $16.99 I don't care about.
Do you know that there's this one who's renting $4,500 a night? I swear to God, a night. And it's getting rented. They're getting all reviews. I mean, what do we charge?
In our town? There's a
4,750. I don't want to say the road because we're online, but there is. I mean, the assessor and I were looking at this one for 2,000 something a night.
one wonders what that comes with.
Yeah.
Fully furnished, pool, privacy.
No, I was making a joke.
Okay, folks, anything else?
Good night.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, do I have, Kat, how about a motion to adjourn?
Oh, wait, Gat, good job, Kat. You did your first motion.
I can read.
You're ready for your assignment.
Okay.
All right, motion.
To,
Say,
adjourn.
a motion to adjourn. I'll say.
Me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's a motion. Come on.
Motion to adjourn?
Yes, there you go. Okay, second, do we have a second?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay,
Thank you.
discussion, all in favor?